Waking up, sweet dreamers. It's not too late to change the dream, but we need a bigger vision than that wide format TV screen. So tell your own vision, sing your own songs, healing the vision, finding answers we long for now. Like, can we put the atom back together? Find a way to straighten out the weather. Speak to the hearts of ones who cannot change their minds. Can we all find healing in these times? Can we bring more healing to these times?
Good evening and welcome to the Soul's Edge here on Beacon of Light Radio. I'm your host, Jeanette Dames, and I want to give a shout out to our wonderful musician, Trina Brunk, who sings us in every week. You can find her music on bandcamp.com. Her name, Trina Brunk, once again, and she has some more new music out, so I would definitely check that out. She seems to be on a writing binge, and it's just more and more beautiful stuff. Tonight we have a lot going on. We have a very special guest, and I can see the chat room already filling up, and many of you are tuned in to listen to Stephen Farmer and we will be wanting to talk to you throughout the show, but Skype, I think, got hit by that tsunami today, and it's giving us a few problems. So if you would like to speak to Dr. Farmer, private message Charity with your phone number and she will call you, or you can certainly ask your questions in the chat room, as we always do. We always get a lot of those. So I'd like everybody to just take a great big deep breath, let go of your day, and just be fully present right now. We have a lot going on in the world, and in light of what's happening in Japan again right now, we just need to be really present with ourselves and share perfect energy with that and not go to another place of fear. So tonight, our Archangel Michael card, and I have to admit, I shook the deck 3 times because I didn't like the card. And even though I always tell you not to do that, I wanted to see if the same one would come out, and it did 3 times. And the final time, it actually came out and kind of flew across the floor. So our Archangel Michael card tonight is for everyone, including me. And your inner guidance is real and trustworthy. And I think right now, a lot of us, we're going through a lot of turmoil in our hearts and a lot of mistrust about our feelings and what it's okay to feel and what feels right. So go into your heart and know that when you're in touch with your soul and your heart, it's all good and it's all right, and it's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to let them move through you. Sometimes that's what has to happen in order for you to move into a place where you feel okay about yourself and where you can move forward in the world in a positive way and share that positive energy that is with you. So our little prayer to go with that card then is, please help me clearly hear, see, feel, and know the divine guidance that I have asked and prayed for. Allow me to keep my ego out of the way so your wisdom can come streaming through me for my own benefit and for those around me. And I just want to add that ego is getting in the way of a lot of us right now. And let's just take a second to think about whether we want to be right, what we view as right, or whether we want to be happy by coming together. Any of you who are my actual Facebook friends, if you saw the posts that I put out yesterday, it was amazing. I went to an Interfaith Diversity Thanksgiving service at a Methodist church, and there were representatives from every major faith in the world. There was Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Sikh, I don't even remember all of them. The Native Americans were there. They did some incredible drumming. The Whirling Dervishes were there. There's a video on my page of that. It was phenomenal, and that's where we need to come together, just bringing our hearts and our love together in these big groups. That's what's going to change the vibration on the planet. All right, tonight I have a very special friend of mine joining me, Dr. Stephen Farmer, and I can go on and on about his bio and tell you all the fabulous things about him, but most of you already know that he's an author, he's a shamanic practitioner, he's a teacher, he's a soul healer, but something you might not know is that he's also a singer and a songwriter, and one of these days he's going to come out of the singer-songwriter closet and actually play his guitar and sing for us on the radio. But what I want to share with you most about Stephen is that he's an amazing person and he operates from his soul. And that's what gives me the most pleasure in calling him my friend and being able to work with him. As most of you know that listen to the show regularly, we've done a couple retreats together, and the people that have been on those trips have come out of it changed and transformed and happier and more connected. And that's what the gift that Stephen brings to the world. Through his many, many talents and many, many gifts, he will always help you get to the core and help you see it in a way that you can easily change and transform your life. So I'm really excited to have my friend here with me tonight. Welcome, Stephen.
Well, thank you, Jeanette. That's very kind of you to say thank you. I'm humbled. Thank you. No, I love my work, and I've been very fortunate to have friends like you that are doing similar kind of work. And the collaboration that we did on the 2 river retreats was phenomenal. Just totally enjoyed it. And I know, and I'm glad the participants got a lot from it as well. Of course, that's the point.
Yeah, they did. And I still continue to hear from them from time to time about, oh, this came up that happened on the retreat, and I'm just still working through it, and I'm so happy that I can see it differently now. So that's great.
That's great.
So I wanted to ask you to bring us kind of to a place of getting a little bit centered on some of the stuff that's going on in the planet, and not necessarily going deep into the forgiveness aspect, but I remember when we were at the East West Bookshop that night, and you were talking about how we were all one, and bringing it sort of around by connecting with our ancestors, and I would really love it if you could share a little bit about it from that aspect. And in any way that you feel guided right now to sort of bring us all into a core place of being one again.
Yeah, it was information that in my research for this book, Healing Ancestral Karma, which came out about a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. Some of the pieces that I came across, I think were absolutely stunning. And if you think about it, there's a logic to it, which is typically when we talk about ancestors, first off, ancestors are of two, I would say basically two varieties. We typically think of ancestors as our biological lineage, which is absolutely legitimate. And I want to change the language so that we begin thinking about them not just as deceased loved ones, but truly as ancestors. There's a deeper kind of a meaning to that word ancestor. The second is the old ones. These are the elders of the ancestor world. These are ones that men and women that have walked on the earth at one time, and they've transited through the spirit world and the afterlife, and have on occasion returned to help us out. And what I'm finding is that more and more these days, they're available to us because they want to help us during this big time of change.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing that in readings that I'm doing. People, deceased folks are showing up, ancestors are showing up that are several generations back, and the people that I'm speaking with will say, well, I don't know who that is. I don't know how to find out who that is. And I say, it doesn't matter who it is. What matters is that they're showing up for you because they know that they can support you right now.
Well, I think what I came up with was calculating 10 generations back. Mm-hmm. If we were, any of us would go back 10 generations, and if it were possible to trace our lineage, and in some indigenous cultures, they actually can do this. But here in the Western culture, or so-called civilization, I always say so-called civilization. In Western culture, we certainly don't even think back too much more than maybe the previous generation or two. But anyway, if you just take, mom, dad, 2, and then you multiply that, double that, and then double that, and double that, and double that. After 10 generations, you have 1,024 ancestors. Now, at that point, as you could imagine, 10 generations ago, the genetic pool is rather diffuse. In other words, that it's spread far and wide, and also there's an incredible diversity. Who knows? What maybe great grandpa married a Native American. You didn't know that, so you have a little bit of that in your genetic makeup.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go back, this is the fascinating part related to your question, Jeanette. If you go back 20 generations, you have over 1 million. And just do the math and you'll find out for yourself. And then if you want to play it a little bit further, 30 generations, you have over 1 billion. So we're talking about, when it goes back that far, we're looking at a real unity amongst the human species, even though we have our variations, our skin color, our eye color, our ethnicity, etc., that we truly can use that as, I'm not sure if I'd say evidence or if I would say that it's speculative, but it really says something to us that we are really united. We are really collective. Mm-hmm. And as part of that collective, we may not, particularly I would identify it in our Western culture, and particularly in the U.S., but in our Western culture generally, we have this standard or this cultural belief that's come way down, for the last hundreds of years, the last few hundred years at least, from when this was settled in our heritage, English, Spanish, Dutch, etc., of thinking of ourselves as rugged individualists. That is the American standard, is we're individuals.
Yeah.
I think it's a trap that we can fall into that isn't anybody's fault that we think that way, but that we tend to segregate ourselves from other human beings mentally in that way that we're really not connected. I'm not connected to this black man. I'm not connected to this Hispanic. I'm not connected to this Indian. But the truth is we are. And we also, one other comment I want to make about that, at the level of consciousness too, and you know this well, and you probably have talked about this on your show, we have what you might call the collective or the collective consciousness, a term that Carl Jung coined. And that's that within this collective consciousness, we carry some, how would I say, I guess, archetypal images. For instance, the image of the Sun King. And where that gets attributed in Christian stories is, of course, Jesus. But there are other cultures. I'm forgetting his name. Joseph. Forgive me. The man of the man of 1,000 faces. I forget. A famous teacher, and forgive me, I'm forgetting his name. It'll come up.
Not Joseph Campbell.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Joseph Campbell, who his name is actually planted in my brain. He talked about that mm-hmm. There are these archetypal kind of images that get played out in various cultures, and there's similarities. That's why they're called archetypal.
Right.
We have the archetypal image of the spirit world. We have an archetypal image of Mother Mary, for instance, is a good one, mm-hmm. Who is showing up as Our Lady of Guadalupe in other cultures. Anyway, to make another jump there as far as collective consciousness, with what's going on in the world today, and I'm not just talking about the U.S. elections. I'm talking about the New Zealand. We were just in New Zealand, that area that was devastated. We had actually traveled on that road and stayed in that city, Kaikoura. So it's kind of surreal to see these images. But also the news today, of course, was on everybody's mind, the tsunami, the intensities of the storms that are showing up that are increasing evidence of how the earth is changing. It has been changing for 5 billion years. And in fact, I just read this recently, or was reminded of this. If you take, let's say, a 24-hour clock, and you start at day one, you start at the birth of the earth, and you clock that all the way around to 23 hours, 59 minutes, and I believe it's 59 seconds. we've been here for that last second.
Yeah, exactly.
That puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, in other words, these are natural events that are occurring as a shift in the geological shift, in an environmental shift in the earth. And we can attribute, I'm sure, that some of this is human caused. But I don't think we need to go around and go, oh my God, I'm a human being. It's my fault, my ancestors' fault, and start blaming and pointing fingers and all that.
Exactly.
What can we do to not just heal the earth? I don't think the earth needs healing, Jeanette. I think it's our relationship that needs healing.
I completely agree with you. More respect for the earth.
Yeah, more respect for the mother of us all. This is where the substance of who we are comes from. Our spirit comes from somewhere else, but certainly the substance is of our bodies is made, made of earth. Anyway, I'm meandering a little bit, and I don't mean to. What I want to come back to, though, is this collective consciousness. Not only are there archetypes in this collective consciousness, but what happens is when there's a powerful wave of fear in the collective, in a large grouping of the population, that fear goes out like waves.
Yes.
And especially if you're sensitive or what you might call an empath, that can really affect you. And I don't mean necessarily in a negative way. It's just that you may experience, you wake up one day and you go, God, I'm angry. I don't understand why I'm angry. Or you may wake up one day or somewhere in the middle of the day, all of a sudden be sort of struck by this fear that you don't know what to attribute the fear to. There's no actual life-threatening situation that you're involved in. And I think as sensitives, what we have to do is be alert to the possibility that when we experience these strong emotions, that we're actually feeling that collective wave. There was a fella, I quoted him in the book, and again, forgive me, I'm not real good with names. I'm great with faces, as they say. But there's a fella in the book, had I been a little more prepared, I would have been able to quote him. But he did some attempts to measure when enough people meditate, for instance, does it have an effect in the population? And he found that yes, it did. That if there's enough of us that pray, that meditate, that focus on peace, that really does have an effect. And that's been demonstrated that it does have an effect. So, conclusion of all that lengthy diatribe there is that as things are moving through these changes, and I experience the fear myself, and I do some sorting as to, is this mine or is it an impersonal fear in that sense?
That's a really good thing to sit back and look at when you're having that feeling. Did this come from inside of me, or am I picking up on what's going on around me?
Yeah, because we're subject to that.
And you would treat it differently too, depending on where it came from. Yeah,
absolutely. There's fear, but there's no actual. Here's what we do though, when we're in sort of a less than aware or less. The awakening process is exactly that. It's awakening, and we are all subject to this. It's not unique to this population or that population. What I'm about to say is that what we tend to do when we experience that fear and look at what's going on in the world, it's if you've looked at everything that's going on, which are the media and the internet and everything helps us see it right away immediately. Whoops, somebody buzzed me on my phone. Let me see, I'm getting a text. It's like we become so enamored and reactive to these kind of things when there's news. That when I feel that fear, my tendency then is to, it's called attribution. I find something to attribute that fear to. I project it outward. It might be an ethnic group, for instance. It might be, my reaction might be more of a fight-flight sort of thing, where I just pull in and I isolate myself and I don't want anything to do with human beings, or I just want to go out in the forest and hang out with the animals, which not a bad idea sometimes.
Not a bad idea. One of my favorite things to do.
Or, the river retreats are great for that reason. No cell phones, no internet. Oh my God.
No TV.
No TV. And you know what? The most amazing thing, Jeanette, when I came back, nothing else had changed. The ocean still was going through tidal phases. Nothing had changed. The moon was still coming up, doing its cycle. The sun was coming up in the morning.
Pretty
anyway,
amazing,
again, unfortunately, I should apologize ahead of time. I do tend to meander, but it's kind of fun to do that too.
Oh no, you
Anyway,
meander
so that
fine.
I think that bottom line is, I think it's up to us when we do sort of fall off the horse, is to get back on the horse as soon as we can.
I lived for four of the 5 years that I lived in Idaho. I never turned on the news one time. I relied on my friends to tell me if there was something I needed, or I knew it would show up somewhere on Facebook or on the news. And my life was exactly like you just said. The ocean kept flowing and the river kept going. And the thing was, I don't think I had as many physical issues going on, because I wasn't absorbing any of the negative energy and there's positive energy out there too. We just don't see as much of it. But I was able to focus more on me and holding my vibration and my love and my life and my direction in a specific place that worked for me. And I really believe that was a little bit of my offering to the universe, to the planet.
That's beautiful. I got disrupted there just briefly, so I'm glad you picked up on that. And I think that was, brilliant. That's exactly my point.
I have often asked people on the show here, and when I do private readings, I always ask people to set their watches for 11:11 a.m. each day. Just set an alarm, and to stop for, even if it's only for 1 minute, 5 minutes if you have it, but even if it's only for 1 minute, and go into your heart energy and breathe white light of the Holy Spirit, or whatever it is that works for you, to connect you into that place and send it out into the world as love wherever it needs to go.
I love it. Anything like that can be used.
Yeah.
I'm really a proponent of, I think everybody should have some sort of spiritual discipline every day. I don't care what it is, meditate on peace, get together with a collective group of friends, and sit in circle and meditate together. Put out a missive, through the internet and say, hey, anybody want to join me? I'm going to be meditating on peace and love.
Yeah. Well, the Global Coherence Initiative is a great group to join, because they will send you, you'll get a notice every full moon and then you go into the care room, and I love it because that flowing, it has a rotating globe, and when you sign in, a little bubble comes up in green for you, and then you'll see all the other bubbles around the planet where people are tuned into that one internet site and the meditation, and then they have it at certain times throughout the day. They have a guided one, but you can tune in at any time, and you can anytime. It doesn't have to be just on the full moon. But I often go there when I feel like I need to be connected to others around the planet. It's really cool to see the other bubbles, and especially when they're in the Far East. And there's more than you would expect.
So how do your listeners find that particular type?
It's Global Coherence Initiative. It's gch.org.
gch.org. I'm writing that down too.
Or no, I guess it's GCI. I'm sorry, GCI, Global Coherence Initiative. If you do a search for Global Coherence Initiative, it will come up.
That's great, Jeanette. That's great. No, I heard of that vaguely at some point in the past, but I want to look into that. I think that's a great idea. And I commend the people that have put that together and initiated that, or it was inspired, I'm sure.
Are wonderful. They're connected to the HeartMath Institute. So they have satellites that measure when people are doing the meditation or are centered together, and the actual temperature of the earth rises just slightly, and they can measure that.
Yeah, I have heard of that before. That's related to this thing I said earlier about this man that put together a group of meditators, and they had some measurement. And I believe it was the satellites that did the measurement. I can't absolutely guarantee that, but there was a way to measure the effect on the what was going on in the earth. So it's nice to know. That's a good one. GCI.org. I like that.
Well, it looks like Charity put that in the chat room, and it didn't come up as the Global Coherence Initiative. So we'll have to look it up for sure. But I would just Google the word, the title of it, and it will come up. But it's really cool, and it's been around for a long time. But I agree, and I think it's really important that that we realize it helps us tune into the fact that we're all one. And right now, I just think that's so important. And you're right, not just because of what's going on in our country, but because what's going on in our country is affecting the rest of the planet.
Yep.
And
Yep.
by pulling in all that energy, and that event that I was at on Sunday was so incredible to see Methodists, Lutherans, Presbyterians, Catholics, and all the different factions of organized Christianity in this country, along with all of these other countries, and everybody was wearing their native clothing, and so it was just like I felt like I was sitting in the UN.
Oh, cool! What was the event, Jeanette?
It was called the Interfaith Diversity Thanksgiving Celebration, and it was put on at a little church up on Queen Anne.
Nice.
Well, it was a big church, but it was a cool church because they had the way the church was set up. Their seats were all in a circle, and so everybody that was speaking or performing, they did a lot of prayer dancing, like Deb did on the retreat. Her teacher was there that teaches that, and they could be in the center so everybody could see them like a stage. And I thought of you when the Native Americans were drumming and when she was speaking and telling the stories of the elders. It was really cool.
Oh, it sounds great. I was thinking I do this training called Earth Magic Practitioner Training, as you know, and I'm in the fourth one, and we had our third of 4 weekends, and it came up about that we, maybe 50, 60 years ago, we were still in the mindset that the indigenous people, both Native American and elsewhere, were primitives. They didn't really know what they were doing. They didn't welcome civilization like, what we've created, the white man
Right.
created. And now we're going to them with clipboards going, hey, can you teach us a little bit about, how to stay closer to the earth? I think that's that's certainly been part of the appeal of the relative popularity, Jeanette, of shamanism.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly was an aspect that drew me to it as a healer. Because I've been a healer, I'm a teacher healer my whole life. That's my purpose here on the planet this round.
And we are so glad.
Yeah, thanks. But, going from, being a psychotherapist and I would say somewhat unusual, I really took some risks and chances and had a very successful practice for many years, taught for many years, and then moving into shamanism about 23 years ago. But I'm also seeing how so many people are curious and interested and intrigued, and some of those people are then finding they're being called to this path.
Yeah.
And I'm not admitting that that's the only way, that's too fundamentalist, but it is a way that's really caught our attention because it is really much more how we relate to the earth and all her children, how we relate to Mother Earth and all her children, and that not only are there these physical manifestations that we relate to, like trees and animals and such like that, but there's a spirit behind them. And behind that spirit is the spirit of that particular species, for instance, of animals, or that particular tree. And as we relate to this, we become more, other than it's not a parlor game, it really is a substantial shift in human consciousness that we're being drawn to. And also, like, for instance, the angel work that you do, to be able to relate to these ordinarily non-visible beings that are available to us to help us through this very critical period that's going to go on for the next few generations. I think we're going to see, well, I don't know if we're going to see it because I don't know, we'll be around at least physically, but I had this hit the other day in a meditation I did that it's going to take about 4 to 5 generations for things to sort of weed themselves out. As a new human being is going to be emerging, and we're already seeing signs of that.
We are definitely seeing signs of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool, like parents that are acknowledging their children's psychic capacity.
Yes. Oh, I love it. There was a little girl that walked up to me at a fair where I was doing readings, and this was about 5 years ago. But she was about 2.5, 3 maybe, and I had a bunch of crystals on my table, and she picked one up. She was holding it in her hand, and she walked around the table and handed it to me. And her mom came up behind her, and her mom said, That's how she speaks. She wants to let you know that she's going to start talking to you telepathically. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I'll be darned, that little kid looked up into my eyes and I started receiving messages so fast.
Yeah.
And she never spoke one word through her mouth. And we had this great little conversation. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, that's a confirmation of this kind of connection that we have available to us.
Even but I want to take a step back real quick, though, to what you were talking about, the planet and connecting and the trees and the animals. There are 2 trees in the forest where I run or walk or run when I'm not supposed to. Healing me. But there are 2, and the first time I was on this trail, I was, running, and they kind of both lean over the trail a little bit with they're huge trunks. I can't put my arms all the way around the tree, and these great big roots. And I just stopped and I looked at both of them, and they literally instructed me what to do. One hand up, one hand down, and to breathe in the energy from the top of one down to me and from the earth of the other one up, and then switch 3 breaths each, and then pull it into my heart, and then stand and wait for their message. And now I cannot run or walk through that trail without stopping and talking to my trees.
Oh, I bet. I understand that totally.
And they're so cool. And I'll say, well, what do I need to know today? And I literally hear messages.
Yep.
And I look forward to it. It's really exciting. So we are completely connected to all of these. And I want listeners to really realize that when you're hearing, and Stephen can talk to this more, but when you think you're hearing messages, you are. You're really not making them up. Look at what's around you and what you're connected to.
Yeah. This process I did on the last retreat, or the most recent retreat. I don't want to say the last one.
No, don't say the last one.
The most recent one, the Spirits of Nature divination, is absolutely one of my favorite exercises.
Oh, yeah.
And what it is the premise is exactly that, is that nature will communicate with you. I say communicate because it's not talking in the usual sense. Communication from the spirits of nature can come in about 3 different ways, typically 3 or 4. One is you might get images. Let's say, like for you, you go and ask the tree a question, or you just stand there and say, "What's the message?" Like you said, and you may get a visual impression in your mind's eye, or even your attention, your visual, your eyes may wander over to a certain part of the area that you run, and there's something there that goes, "Oh, there's the message right there."
Yeah. So
it can be visual, it can be auditory, which means you hear something in the voice in your mind. And no, you don't have to take medication. You're hearing something from spirit, or you might hear a sound, outside in the external environment. So that's visual, auditory. Something I call kinesthetic. It's also sometimes called clairsentient, or the 4 clairs: clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and claircognizant. Clairsentient or kinesthetic is you have a sensation in your body. You feel something. You feel the truth of what's being said to you, for instance. You just feel it in your body. And then the 4th is cognitive, which means you just know. Like you stop by the trees and ask for a message, and suddenly you just know without even think about it what the message is.
Yeah.
The setup, and I really, listeners, pay attention, because I want you to go out and try this tomorrow. What you do is there's about 3 steps mainly. I wanted to give the idea that not everybody, hears things, not everybody sees images. So go with what your strength is. Mine, I hear things typically. Spirit communicates to me through words. And I'm a writer and a wordsmith, so it makes sense. And a teacher, so I work with words, so that makes sense. And through my body, kinesthetic. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. Some people are more visual, some people are more auditory. So whatever you are, go out in it doesn't matter where you are. Go to a park and wander around at about 80% of your usual pace. In other words, slow down, breathe. That's important too. And your first step is to ask for a teacher. You just put it out to the universe. I'd like a teacher. And then you'll be attracted to something in the environment, something of the natural world: a tree, a rock, a stone, a feather, an animal, whatever it may be. Whatever you're attracted to, make sure to check it out. Just say, "Are you my teacher?" And you'll know either through just knowing, or you'll hear yes, or you'll see the trees bending in a certain way that says, "Yes, I'm your teacher." So then that's step one, is find your teacher. If you get a no, then you move on till you find your teacher. And usually people find it within one or two questions. Most people find it when they're first drawn to something. So then at that point, once you have established who your teacher is, then you move, I would say, move into relationship with that teacher. What that means is, when I say move into relationship, what I mean is,
Hello?
yeah, I lost contact.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
Anyway,
okay.
so you establish the relationship. Yes, you're my teacher. Great. And then second, your question, and it might be something like you do, Jeanette, which is just say, "What's my message? What's a message that I need to hear today?" Or if you have a specific question, that's okay too. What about this relationship I'm in? Or what about this work? Do I quit my job? What do I? So then, and this is the fun part. Once you've asked your question, pay attention to everything that happens. What you see, what you hear, what you feel, and any thoughts that pop into your head. And I'm very, very literal about that. Everything that happens is your response. You may be redirected over to another area of the park or the forest or the bush, wherever it may be. You might hear something in the voice in your mind that tells you to go to this certain place tomorrow. They might say, "Hey, go to yoga." I don't know what from that, but the point is, everything that happens. And the last piece on this, Jeanette, is you have to. It may come. Let me put it this way: it may come at you right directly. You may get a yes, to a question that's a yes or no question. And more often than not, though, that what you do is you're entering into a zone you could call the dream time. When you set this up in this way, and the answer may come, but it will seem rather cryptic and dreamlike, like, "Whoa, this isn't making sense right away." Don't be discouraged with that. Go write it down somewhere and contemplate it. Think about it. Let it be like as if you had a dream, but you don't quite understand it. And I will guarantee you're going to have some fun with that. It's like if I may share that experience on the river, because I play every time I set this up, I play. I wandered around, we're at campsite. I wandered around a little bit in this tree. This just beautiful tree really attracted me to her. And I asked, "Are you my teacher?" And I heard very distinctly in the voice in my mind, I heard yes. So I've been contemplating, what to write next. I want to write another book or something. And I'm already actually in process of a couple projects like that. But I want to write a book. And so my question to the teacher was, "What do I have to do to write a bestseller?" And
I do remember this.
yeah, actually, I've got a couple books that have been bestsellers, so I'm not, But anyway, I said, what do I do now to write another bestseller? And I heard very, very clearly the spirit of my teacher, the tree, basically said, "Knock it off about the bestseller stuff. That's not the point. The point is to give something of service to the world in your writings. You're a gifted writer. You can do it. Whatever you write, let it be that be the foundation that it's service." Great teaching. Great reminder.
We have somebody on the line that would like to speak with you.
Well, I'm not sure. No, I'm kidding. Sure.
This might be your teacher.
Maybe this is my teacher. Yeah, we'll see. Of course, yeah. Let's see who it is. And
Elizabeth, are you there?
I'm here.
Did you have a question for Dr. Farmer?
Oh, well, I actually came here to be taught.
Okay.
I just was open to the experience. I have a friend who referenced this to me, and I don't know, I definitely believe in ancestors, and I feel very much like I've been Well, I'll just tell you, last night I went to, there's a small co-op yoga studio here where I live, and a friend told me to come to this gong bath, and for the first time in a long time, I was led through this yoga sequence of breathing and movement, and afterwards they had us lay in Shavasana, and these two men, they played a gong in a specific way, and it took me through a series of visions and images in my third eye, which were really, really cool, and I felt super empowered afterwards, and just like more trusting in myself and in my soul, because I feel I'm a very old soul, and I want to, I don't know, I'm in this lifetime, I'm 22, but I know I'm really, really old, and I came back as an Aries in this lifetime because I had to have the childlike, babe-ish attitude of I need this, you know, just because I've lived a lot of lifetimes, and I've been many things, and I want to be able to help heal the world, and but also have like a wonderful life, you know, with a family and a partner. And I just recently became a Reiki practitioner, and I also do angel card and oracle readings, and I've had a couple of really magical experiences with shamans and whatnot. But I still feel there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot I don't know. And so I just tuned in to listen, and I wasn't really sure what to expect from the phone call, but I'm here, and I guess thank you for just listening to my little story.
Well, you were not led to that event by accident.
Right.
Especially when you have an opening like that. And I would just be curious, Stephen, what are you feeling I feel like there's the answer that she's seeking on this call is that she's looking for direction. And I feel like it's really like she's right on the edge of it.
Do you get that?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I believe in twin flames and whatnot, and I thought I met my twin flame over the summer, and I don't think that your twin flame is necessarily like your life partner or anything. Although I think love is a very conscious choice that you make with a person, and someone is actually on their way to see me right now, and it's very exciting, and it's very scary, but it's also very, I feel like I mean, I'm working a job right now that's cool. I don't really know what I want to do exactly with school or how I want to do it. I want to be able to help and be in my niche, and you know, be able to trust the flow of the universe and not wonder if I'm going to have enough food or enough money or anything.
Those are choices.
Those are choices. Okay.
Well, Elizabeth,
Hello?
Elizabeth, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think, first off, I commend you, you know, at the age of 22, that you've obviously started your exploration.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw when I closed my eyes and listened to you is I saw you wandering. So I think rather than set a specific goal right now, I could see you for the next couple of years wandering. And what that means is traveling, going around. That's one thing. Whatever you're drawn to, see what you can do to get there. But not just get there, but really be there. There could be, Vancouver. You could be going to Canada to explore something there. You could go on the east coast of Canada, and you'd probably run into some Native Americans there. Go to Australia, go to New Zealand, you know, do some travel. There's ways to do it. one of the things that you could limit yourself is to think, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have this or that or whatever. But when you immediately put up those roadblocks, then it won't happen, of course, because it's like the universe listens and goes, oh, okay, we'll make sure you don't.
Yeah.
There's other ways to get there. The other thing I think I want to see you doing more of is getting out. I don't know where you live, but it's getting a little cold here. Down south, it's even getting a little cool at nights. But whenever you have the opportunity, is to get out on the land. It could be in the forest. It could be down at the park or something like that. Take your socks and shoes off and walk barefoot. Really connect with the mother. And move about, like I was saying about the exercise. Just when you walk really slow and breathe. You're like many of us, you shallow breathe. So I want you to start deepening your breath as you walk and as you connect with Mother Earth. Now, if it's too cold, leather-soled shoes will work. They will keep you connected to the earth. Okay? Will you do that?
I will do that.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. Great story.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I'm glad that we can be here to support you with this. Just know that there really is. What's the aphorism, Jeanette? The journey is the destination.
The destination is the journey.
Yeah, but what's his name?
It's not the journey. It's not the destination. It's the journey.
Yeah.
Well, there's also someone else who said the journey itself is home, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The point being is not get locked into an agenda or anticipated. Set your goals, but don't get attached to them.
And I'd like to add to that, Elizabeth. You're 22. I'm 62, and I'm still not attached to my direction. It changes every day. And as long as I stay focused, like Stephen was saying, and wanting to be of service, then whatever needs to show up for you will show up for you. And you just have a lot of beauty in your heart and in your life, and just allow it to unfold for you.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know how it goes. Check back in with me in a couple weeks and let me know what else is new.
I will.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Thanks, Elizabeth.
I really love that, because that experience that she shared of just being, a friend told me to go to this gong bath thing. I went to one last week. That was pretty cool. It was the first time I've ever gone to that. And it really gets you in touch with you really get grounded.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. But back to what you were saying, just, traveling. And even if the travel, I think, and you can probably speak to this as well, Stephen, is traveling sometimes just in your heart, allowing it to go different places if you can't physically travel like all the time.
Yeah, I think that travel in a broader sense is, I have this amazing 2-year-old lab named Samson, who you know about.
I knew you would work Samson in here somewhere.
I do that, didn't I? Yeah, well, that's one of the projects I may end up doing. Actually, it's next on the list. But even just going out for a walk at night, especially if it gets dark pretty early, that's traveling. If you want to make it in a broader sense, yes. And travel in your mind, take yourself to places. That's that's the beauty of meditation or doing a shamanic journey, is you're going into places that you might not ordinarily visit. And if you set your intention, whether it's a meditative form or some kind of form of meditation, or the shamanic journey, which is not that difficult to learn. It does require a little bit of training to do the journey properly. Then you go, amazing things can happen when you do the shamanic journey. I know that. And also in meditation, I mix them, Jeanette. I sometimes I meditate in the morning. Sometimes I actually turn I'll drum, or I'll turn a tape of drums on so that it helps me go into this process called the shamanic journey. Mm-hmm. But also for Elizabeth and probably many others, I think any kind of travel you can do, even going to the next state or go out to the desert, where, like here in Southern California, in Orange County, one of my favorite places, and I mean favorite places in the world, and I've had the good fortune to travel to a few places, is 2 hours away. It's Joshua Tree National Monument.
Oh, yes, it's wonderful there.
It is an amazing experience in the desert, and I used to go there a lot, and I'm going to be going there in February of all times. And I was there last year a couple of times facilitating or co-facilitating some events. But there is magic in the desert. I love it. There is
magic in the desert. And I never believed that until I was there. Because I was always, it's brown and ugly. Why would you want to go there? I want to turn over a little bit the topic, because we don't have a ton of time left, and we're getting some questions about animals.
Okay.
And I know that that's also one of your specialties. I'm going to pull the show host card first. And just, I know you know what my issues are around snakes. And today, and I'm really doing so much better, because I saw that one on the Rogue, and I went, oh, there it is. But today I had a dream, and that I was carrying around a little black snake in a paper bag.
Cool.
And I put it in my backpack, and I was carrying it around, and then I brought it out to show my daughter, and it was gone. And I don't know and I was telling Ivy about it, and she goes, well, ask Stephen, you're going to talk to him tonight.
Yeah, that's good. Well, what was the feeling?
I was fine. I was excited to show it to her.
Yeah, I think it's that something is healing. Let me premise this by saying there is a type of spirit animal that we could call a shadow animal. The shadow animal can mean different things. It could be an aspect of oneself that is denied. A snake might be that there's a big change coming, because the snake sheds its skin. So that could be a fear, and I'm not suggesting it is true for you, but that's one possibility of a shadow animal as a snake. Or it could be that you fear your own aggressiveness, because we think of snakes as striking out like that. They kind of hold back on that to some degree. The point of a shadow animal too is when they appear, especially in a dream/vision like that, is that there's a healing that's taken place with that. Like you're making friends with your shadow animal.
Yeah,
and
I am. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, like you're stepping up. You're not striking out so much as you're coming forward. That's one of the qualities of what's going on as far as healing. So shadow animal also, sometimes the shadow animal, often it is one that we fear, we feel disgust toward, but it also could be when that particular animal shows up, that it's calling your attention to something important, that may be a fear that you've been carrying around, or an anger, or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So back up a little bit further, though, as far as animals and animal spirit guides. Yes, I am known for that. I put out, I think 3 or 4 different products that are related to that. The latest one.
Yes, you do, and they're wonderful. The cards, and you have your the books.
Yeah, and
the spirit animal stories for little kids.
Yeah, the children's spirit animal cards.
That would be a great Christmas present, you guys, for the children in your family.
Yeah, it's not trying to indoctrinate children into shamanism. Believe me, it's not. None of these are to try to convince you to do the shamanic path. That's not the point. I was told years ago in my first book, Sacred Ceremony, prior to that I'm to put out books that have a connection to shamanism, but aren't necessarily for people who are interested in shamanism. So an animal spirit guide, though, here's the deal on animal spirit guides. I am absolutely convinced, based on experience as well as belief, that the animals that come to us in an unusual way and or repeatedly, that there's something pretty big going on. For instance, the other night, 2 nights ago, I was walking the dog, and I looked up. I heard something very, very faint. I looked up, and there was an owl drifting over, and I haven't seen an owl where I live since the 4 years we've lived here. So that's unusual. Not that there aren't owls around here, but my spotting it at that particular time, it was an unusual event. So when an animal shows up like that, and again, we got crows out here, for instance. When I see crows, I don't think much of them. I think they're animals.
Yeah, we have them everywhere.
It's not. But if a crow flies across my windshield when I'm driving, I pay attention to that because that's unusual.
Yeah.
Or if I see them circling directly overhead, 2 of them, for instance, which has happened. So we look for the unusual. We look for repetition with these animal spirit guides. What it is basically, let's say crow or this owl that flew over, it's the collective consciousness of that particular species is sort of sending a representative to you to try to get your attention. And within that, there's a message for you that's relevant for you at this time. And what one way to find out what the message is close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and imagine that animal or the spirit animal in front of you, such as owl, to use that as an example. And you say, just like in the exercise I described, the spirits of nature, you say, what's the message you have for me? And then you pay attention to everything that happens. Another way, Jeanette, is think of the characteristics of the animal. For instance, owl. Characteristics are things like this. There seems to be some connection to ancient wisdom. A big medicine or characteristic of an owl is that they can see in the darkness. They have this capacity to see in the darkness. Another one is that they can scan almost 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So any of those might be a metaphor for the message for you. In this case, what it was is this class I'm teaching, that a lot of stuff had been coming up about shadows, elements in our consciousness that we're not aware of. So I brought the group and we did some work with it based on my sighting of the owl and the message he was delivering. So that's the nut of it, basically. There's a little bit more to it, but that's what I would want your listeners to practice. Just start practicing. And if you're, the other way you can do this is, certainly get one of my books or something, but you can also look it up on the internet. What if you see a crow that does something unusual like this? What if you're walking in the forest and a fox walks right in front of you? What if you have a big dream of a bear? What does it mean?
Well, one of the questions is about a dream with a white tiger with blue eyes,
mm-hmm.
and also white seals and a white bird of some sort and pink flamingos all in one dream.
So white tiger with blue eyes. What was the second?
White seals.
White seals, okay.
A white bird. So everything's white except for the pink flamingos.
Okay, well, the first thing that comes up with white is, as you think about the color white, first off, it contains all the colors of the rainbow concentrated in that we call white. But also it's associated with purity or purification. So there's a need for purification. And that is that is speaking to this individual who had the dream. Tiger. Oh, I just saw you.
I know. I moved.
We're on Skype, ladies and gentlemen, and Jeanette just showed me. Anyway,
I covered up my face because I didn't want people. Never mind. Someone was friending me on Facebook. I had to move my block.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so tiger, like many of the big cats, has to do with sensuousness. Sensuousness, to some degree sexuality, but not sex, but sensuality. Being able to rid yourself of shame about your sensuality. And that could be through dance, it could be through just standing in front of the mirror and, touching your body and just sending love to different parts of your body. That's one thing. The white seal often has to do with imagination, that there's some creative pulse that's occurring right now that has a strong message of love and light that needs to come through, but not preachy, more of a story. So an imaginative story. And so that listener, I'd like you to write a story about that. You can start with a white seal. That would be a great thing to do. The flamingo was pink, right?
Right.
Yeah, pink is the reason they're pink. Interestingly enough, is that they assimilate what they eat, and there's a kind of I think it's called astaxanthin that's in what they eat that they convert into their colors, the pink. So if you see the sequence white, white, pink, what that says to me, first off, flamingo has to do about stretching yourself. It also has to do about being grounded in your emotional body as well as your subconscious. because they hang out in shallow waters and such.
Right. Yep. And they all stand in groups.
And they stand in groups and they stand tall.
Yeah.
And that's another message that I get from this is for this listener, be able to stand in your stature. So summing it up, it would be opening yourself. There's a purification process that's already occurring. It's not that you need to ever even actually do anything that will bring you closer and closer to the light, and that your sensuality is going to be really important in this, as well as your creative imagination, to write a story that is a teaching about the love and light, and then also the transition from there to not transition, but standing tall, standing in your stature, basically, staying close to the emotional body and staying close to your subconscious, the dreams, such as the one you just shared.
Yeah. Awesome. Stephen, we're almost out of time. We are out of time, but I don't have anybody following me tonight, so I can go a little bit over. But I wanted to share with everyone, if you have never seen Stephen in person, get on earthmagic.net and find out where he's going to be, and if he's ever going to be near you, you want to make sure that you go see him. He emits a magic that speaks with his earthmagic.net. He couldn't have a better name for his website. But I know, Stephen, also that you have some events coming up that you wanted to share as well, correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to put this out there because they're coming up real quick here. The last event of this year, well, excuse me, not the last. Yeah, no, it's the last event of this year, December 9th. I'm going to be in New York at the Namaste bookstore from 7 to 9 doing messages from your animal spirit guides as well as a book signing. And then I'm also,
awesome.
I started doing webinars, and that's the New England Institute of Holistic Studies. My friend Elizabeth Foley started. I just completed one, and I'm doing 2 more starting on the 26th of January. Again, messages from your animal spirit guides. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. 4 meetings. And then also on February 21st, Healing Ancestral Karma, which should be a powerful one also. And
so all of those they'll be on the events on earthmagic.net, so people can go there and find out what's coming up.
Yeah, the only one that's not up quite yet is the Joshua Tree one I mentioned is coming up February 3rd. And then the Gathering of Shamans in Sedona, April 7th through 9th with Don Miguel Ruiz and his posse. And I'm going to be.
I want to go. I want to be at that.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Okay, wonderful. Any last words for everyone?
Save your money. No, I'm
so
kidding.
You can go see Stephen.
So you come to some of these events. No, I'd love to have. I also just put a pitch in for the Earth Magic Practitioner Training. That's not quite up on the website, but it'll show up soon. It's in May. And we start round 5. Actually, the 5th class is going to be starting then. 4 meetings over a period of 9 months, face-to-face meetings. Great group. This group I'm doing now is just fantastic. They've worked so hard at what they're doing. The underpinning is shamanism, but it's so much more than that. Everything to the table in these. So, words of wisdom, or let me see if I can think of something profound. I think that, I don't know that it's profound or not, but I just, again, back to the earlier discussion, Jeanette, that we had, as much as you can live peace and be peace, do it. Yes. It is essential that as empaths and sensitives, that first off, that we do feel the waves of the collective, and yet we don't have to be subject to them. We can feel them, surrender to them, and let them go, and then return as quickly as we can to a place of peace, love, and understanding. We really can do it. Gang, we can do it. There's so much divisiveness right now, especially in the U.S., that don't be divided inside yourself. Don't hang on to your judgments. Let them go. Mm-hmm. Look towards peace. The world is life is doing exactly what it needs to be doing in spite of judgments. It's perfect as it is. Yeah. It's perfect. And that's my diatribe right there.
I could not possibly have said it better. And Charity, who is our producer, wants you to know that when the Earth Magic Practitioner Training starts up again, she'll post it on the radio websites and Facebook pages so that everybody can be reminded of that.
Thank you, Charity. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Stephen.
God
It was
bless.
so
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. Glad you're feeling better too. With that.
I am, and we can talk offline. I have a couple other questions for you, but they're not urgent, so anytime later.
All
Okay.
right. Sounds good, Jeanette. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you all
you,
for
everyone,
listening.
for joining us tonight on The Soul's Edge. Next week, Elizabeth Anglin will be back, and she will be doing her animal communication. So if you want to find out what's going on in Samson's head, Stephen, you tune in.
Okay, sounds good, Jeanette. Thank
And yeah, Elizabeth will help us talk to our animals, and she'll probably also do a little bit of healing work for our animals as well. So I hope you will tune into The Soul's Edge next Monday night at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Jeanette Dames. Thank you for joining Stephen Farmer and myself tonight, and angel blessings to all. Have a great week.
I was afraid of heights, so I climbed the mountain. I was afraid of the dark, so I turned out the lights. And I sang my song, though my voice was shaking, 'cause the love that's in me can see through the night. And I'm willing to live from my passion, and I'm willing to breathe through the fears, and I'm willing